Man, I'm excited that you're on finally, just so you
Oh
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've been
Um,
listening to your stuff. I listened to the Charla episode
I love
just
that
because.
one.
Yeah, Charla's cool. I like her. So
Yeah, she gave me a lot of insight, which I thought was really cool. I didn't know, like for example, just because like not being, the big time filmmaker or whatever, I'm like, oh, I didn't know they go
yeah,
through casting agencies and casting directors before they actually get there.
yeah. She's an actress in the truest sense of the word too. Like, like she does it. Like I think as far as I know, that's her. That's what she does full time is just pursue that. And so that's very cool. And she's very good. And so hey,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah.
And
It's funny
then there's
too.
me.
Well, it's funny because I on my Facebook memories I posted a year ago today about the theater that you guys did your screening at and about how it got shut down.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Damn, what was that called? The Lehigh one? Or no,
American
was it
Fork one.
Lehigh or American Fork?
It was American Fork.
Yeah, we got lucky because I didn't know that they were going under. But that worked out. We didn't want it to be like a big premiere, because it was more just like a test screening to get feedback. And so we were looking at Cinemark and everything, and it was like, yeah, come and to have a movie screen for $4,000. And I was like, good Lord, like we're not screening the movie to screen the movie. There was a purpose behind it. And so they were a lot more feasible, but
Yeah. So I thought it was just kind of fun that would pop up today. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be talking to James today. So
yeah, I actually got hypnotized there at that theater a long time ago. um, there was like a magic and or hypnotist show. It was like 2007. It was a long time ago. That was the first time I ever did a hypnotism show. And apparently it actually worked somewhat. I don't know. I don't really remember it working, but apparently I did some weird shit. So I don't know, maybe.
So like
But
you went up there and you thought you remembered everything? Is that basically what you're saying?
yeah, basically, like I don't really remember doing anything that weird. Like he'd have you do weird things to like induce hypnotism, right? But I guess he got me because apparently I was doing some weird stuff I don't really remember doing, unless everyone just lied to me collectively, which wouldn't be new. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've only seen one hypnotism show in high school. It was like during like our all night, senior party or whatever they were throwing. And they got like this girl to like kiss this guy, but she had a boyfriend and he was in the audience. And
Oh,
there was like drama to follow after.
yeah, I bet.
And then there was speculation like, was that real or was that fake? And I'm like, I'll just say it's real just to cut her some slack.
Yeah. The guy in the audience pissed off as hell. That's pretty funny.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of a mean thing to do to make, oh, you got a boyfriend? All right, here, kiss this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it wasn't like specifically like, kiss or whatever. Like the guy said, do whatever you want or
Oh,
something. And then like she totally lunged for this other guy that was up there and it
primal. Geez,
yeah.
wasted no time, huh?
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
don't
either it was real or it was like that's what she wanted.
know,
So
like an excuse.
yeah,
Payback for this douchebag she was dating. I don't know if he's a douche. I don't even know if they're together. They're probably not, honestly, but
yeah, not anymore. Guaranteed they're not together. I
yeah.
guarantee it. I live right by the Spanish Fork High School, and so every time I drive into and from work, everyone's all holding hands and having their relationships. And I'm just always thinking, I wonder if they know there's like a 99% chance that it's gonna end unhappily for them. Like, I wonder if that's occurred to them or not. And that just shows you how much of an asshole I am. Cause it's like, I can't be happy for them. I drive by and I'm like, you stupid kids. I'm getting old. So I've got to that point now where I look down on the younger generation. So
Yeah, I mean, I get
I
it.
don't know.
I didn't actually actively date in high school, so
Yeah.
definitely more of a fling kind of guy. But like even then, I was just like, oof,
Yeah.
dodge
I
bullet.
did. And every single one of them ended unhappily. So that was, like I said, it was like 6 for 6. I don't know. It just, yeah.
Well, what's the saying? Like the number one cause to divorce is marriage.
Is that a saying? The
I don't
number
know. I
one
joke
cause.
about it.
I mean, I guess it's not wrong. Yeah, it's like 50% now or something, but
Yeah. Well, and
I don't
so
know.
I graduated in 2013. So I'm still kind of relatively young. Like I just turned the big 26. Uh,
Sheesh.
I
I am
know,
getting older.
but the amount of people on my feed who have been married twice already and like on their third husband or like on their fifth kid and stuff, and I'm just like, damn.
Yeah. So how old are you now? That had to make you what?
I'm 26
26 you
now.
just said?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
the big 26. You just said that. Duh. Yeah, I remember 26 back before everything hurt and my knees still worked and everything. I put a lot of mileage on my body between like when was I? When did I start law enforcement? 2027. It's like yeah, it's about 5 years now. Man, it's my my joints, my back, everything's just gone downhill. So takes its toll.
Oh, I'm sure. Even now, like I think back in high school being totally active. I think we took high school, what do you want to call it? Endurance for granted because being so fit and being so into sports and then you play like pickup game like with basketball with your friends now and it's just like
Yeah. Well, it's not just that. It's like you play it and then 2 days later you feel like you got hit by a train
yep.
and you're just like you can't quite figure it out. That's the stuff that sucks. Is like I can do everything I've ever been able to do, probably in a lot of ways better, but man, like your recovery just starts to go downhill. And I try to mitigate that, but I don't know. I hate it. I really do hate it. Like I actually have some arthritis in my neck and I'm like I'm 30, almost 33. It's like how do I have that already? So yeah, I can tell when a storm's coming. My neck will start to hurt. So
is that is
some
that a thing? Like
bullshit.
is that an actual thing?
You know, I think it is. I don't know if, I mean, obviously it's exaggerated, but like when it's really cold, like right now, and to like from basically now until uh February, late February, my body just hurts all the time. Like everything just aches because it's so cold. And so I think there is some truth to that, but I don't know. They always joke, my storm's coming. I can feel it in my knee. I don't know how accurate that is, but it is affected by cold. I'll tell you that much. It's painful.
I hate to age you, but that's kind of like an old man thing to say.
No, I know that's the thing. I don't feel old. Like mentally, I'm definitely not old. I'm immature as hell, but um, yeah, it's kind of odd because it's like I said, 33 isn't even that old, but like it just man it flies by. Like I said, 26 to me that seems like an eternity ago.
Yeah,
But
well, I mean, 21 felt like an eternity ago as well. And
God,
now look
yeah,
back all those party days, between 21 and like 23. And it's like, oh my God, I wasted a lot
yeah.
of my life.
Well, you got a lot left to go, so you'll have
Yes.
time. You'll have time to further screw up. I promise you.
Um,
You'll do more.
all right. Well, let's have you introduce yourself so we can put a face to the voice for those who are watching it. And for those who are just
Sure.
listening, just, they probably know who it is from the title, but
Yeah, giveaway. So yeah, I'm James Morris, Utah native. Started doing filmmaking way back when I was really young. I made some horrible short films that were not like content horrible, but just well, actually even then, you know what? I take it back. I did make some horrible short films, but that kind of led me into always wanting to do acting at first, and I ended up going to a film school in East Hollywood called East Hollywood High, and that kind of got me into the other side of it, which is like directing, and that kind of ended up becoming something I really really like to do. Um, from there, I went on and did some random film projects for people, and then short films that kind of got me some attention. Did a lot of film festivals, and then partnered up with Mike Balliff, where I'm at now, and did Witching Season and They Live Inside Us, and have some other things coming up even this year, which I probably can't announce yet, so I won't. But both projects we're doing, and then a couple things I think I'm going to be in as well. So
You're like a jack of all trades. You and Mike both.
Mike likes to say I'm a jackass of all trades. That's his go-to insult. Yeah. I don't know if it was necessarily because I was like good at everything. It's because it was out of necessity. Like it was easier for me to, write and direct and edit something than to go out and find someone to do it for me. So I kind of taught myself the programs and everything like that, and just got better at it.
I'm kind of in the same boat with that. I kind of, for my next project, I kind of want to reach out to an editor just to see what they can do that I can't do, or what they see that I don't see. Just as a challenge to myself, but definitely like, I don't know. I feel like that would make me lose control, but I also know like I'm the director, so there's like final cut,
Yeah, you also can't like see anything objectively. I don't think I've noticed that about things I work on, where I'll watch something and I'm like, it's perfect. And then someone else will watch it and be like, why the hell is all this crap in here? And I'm like, oh, wait, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like when you get another perspective on it, it makes it a lot better. And when you do everything, that does kind of cloud your judgment a little bit. And not necessarily it's always a bad thing, but I do think that having a third party, and that's one thing that Mike and I actually do pretty well at, is we balance each other out a little bit. Because we'll, he'll do something and I'll do something, and we'll argue about it for a while, and it come to a better consensus than I think it would have been had we just gone with, with what we initially wanted to do. So, could be wrong, but.
Well, how did you and Mike actually kind of collaborate with each other? Like, how did that come to?
I met Mike through a friend of mine named Sean Hunter. Sean was a high school friend of mine. I'd known him since like middle school. And he sent me a message one time and basically was like, hey, my friend Mike is screening this zombie film at, I think it was the library in Springville, I think. So anyway, I looked at his campaign. It looked really cool. So I ended up donating to his Kickstarter or whatever it was back then. And I went to the screening and it was really good. And the zombie movie's it's on YouTube. It's called 2 Hours. And if you haven't seen it, you like zombies, go check it out. It's objectively a pretty solid short film. And I just remember watching it and I was like, this guy's really good. Cinematography and everything was a lot better than I had done. And so I was like, okay, I need to work with him on something. And so I had just done a short film that got into a few festivals called The Astrological Whipping Boy, which was my first ever festival film. And so I sent him that and he just said, he liked it. Let's do something together. And it just kind of built from there. He helped do some visual effects on another short I did later. And then he approached me to help him on a 72-hour film, which then evolved into The Witching Season after that. So
The Witching Season.
Oh, and Sean, who I mentioned before, he's the guy in episode 3 of The Witching Season in the Not Alone, the extraterrestrial one. That's actually Sean. So that's the mutual friend we had in high school. So it was fun to bring him back because he and I have always been friends for, I guess, a long, long time. So.
Well, so my first time watching you guys was actually at I think it was the 2018 Utah Film Festival.
Yeah.
I think it was They Live Inside Us, like the segment.
The short. Yeah.
And I remember watching that and actually jumping a couple times. Seriously. And I was like, holy shit. Like this is the quality was good. Like you said, the cinematography was good and like the acting was good and the concept, right? And I was sitting next to Landon and he looks at me and he's like, dude, I gotta go meet these filmmakers. Like you're going to like actually go for it. Yeah, this is like my first festival, right? I'm like, can you do that? Can you actually like go talk to them afterward? And Landon's like, dude, I'm gonna go do it. I'm like, all right, whatever. And I lost him after that. And then a week later, he's like, so guess who I I'm trying to get a meeting with. And he dropped you and Michael. And I was like, what? You heck? What? So
yeah, like we're some big, yeah. No, yeah, I remember Landon came up and he was like, man, I hate to be this guy, but I'm kind of fanboying over you guys right now. I was like, oh, cool. Never had anyone say that before. But no, and I like Landon a lot, and it was fun. Sadly, the project kind of went into limbo, but it was fun I worked on, what was it called? I helped write the script for the Asylum horror short.
yep.
That kind of got stuck. And so I talked to him off and on, and I've told him that I do want to do something with him again at some point. So that is still open. Nothing's materialized yet, but that's not for not wanting to. It's just been busy as hell, and hopefully things open up here soon. So
yeah, well, I mean, and you guys just this year released your feature film, which is a huge congrats. Kudos,
Yeah.
The hype around that was real.
Yeah, it was fun. It was that whole process was, we talk about wearing multiple hats, where it's just like we did so much on that movie for so long that I did lose objectivity on it. And so finally having it out, it's good to just be done with it. We did the best we could with what we had, and it's out, and it got we got distributed, which is something, right? So I think it's going to lead to some other things, and you know what, we learn from it and make something even better next time. So no, I'm proud of it. It's one of those just exponentially long labors of love. And so it was fun to see it finally materialize and be done.
Well, I mean, it is huge that it got distributed, because all the filmmakers I know in Utah self-distribute, like on Prime and YouTube and Tubi, so the fact this was actually picked up by a distributor, I think that's a huge fucking like pat in the back.
Yeah, it was a step in it. It was interesting too, because we realized that our movie, made for a very micro budget, it got picked up and it was being released on these platforms alongside a lot bigger movies, right? And so there was good and bad that came from that. Obviously, when your movie's next to a movie with $1 million, people watch the two, and
compare,
they're going to talk. Yeah, they're going to compare them and everything. But you know what? The fact that it did get that opportunity, whether people love it or hate it, I don't really give a rat's ass. But it's good to have that out there and to be like, all right, we did this. You know what I mean? It's funny because I think we've talked about this a couple of times when you're looking at feedback when movies come in. For every 10 positive things somebody would say, if you get one person who says something bad, it just eats you alive. And so it took me a while to get over that. But it's all right. Like, I'm proud of what we did, and you know what? It taught us a lot. And I think that we're going to be even more ready to do something even bigger next time. So
hell yeah. Well, and objectively speaking too, so I didn't know the witching season was successful. Like I said, the only one I saw was They Live Inside Us at the 2018, and it kind of introduced me to the wider universe that you guys have set up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I followed these horror, what do you call them, platforms, like Bloody Disgusting, for example, and Nerdist even. And the writers I follow on Twitter started writing about the witching season and posting screenshots around Halloween. I was like, what? Like, you guys are talking about people I actually know. Like, what? This is so fucking cool, And,
witching season, it reached far. Like, even still, it blows my mind. I'll get people from like the UK and stuff hit me up and like, hey, we watched the witching season. It was so much fun. And I'm very proud of the witching season, but it was very much an experiment into what we wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, it was literally, we funded it ourselves. We'd pay everyone out of our own pocket and things like that. So it was very much a concise, just simple project, and it shows, but it was just so much fun to see, even though with its humble roots, for it to reach so far. And you were talking about self-distributing. That was the first project we self-distributed. So we got a physical distribution deal through Scream Team Releasing, and they did really, really well. And then we self-released it on Amazon Prime, and then it just recently came out on Tubi as well. And it actually did really, really well. Amazon kind of buggered with their algorithm or something, and they used to make a lot more than it does, even for if the viewership stays the same. So it sucks, but it's still cool to see like every Halloween, like late August, September, it just starts to spike up because people just start watching it again and posting about it. And hopefully They Live Inside Us will do the same thing. The witching season took a while to catch on just because it was so slow. And, we'd make an episode every few months until it was the final accumulation of everything. But, that they're very alike. If you watch The Witching Season and They Live Inside Us, it's clearly the same universe and everything. So, yeah.
Well, and dude, I seriously love your guys' feature of They Live Inside Us. I thought there was a lot of cool shots in there, and like there's spooky atmosphere, and just imagining you guys having a lot of fun on the set just added to it, and that theatrical experience of the feedback screening, as you guys want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Being in that theater added so much to it too, just because like the theater was, how do I describe it? It was like very local. Like it was only like 2 theaters running, and like next to that was Spider-Man. I don't know which one it was. Was it the Far From Home? Probably. I think it was what it was.
Yeah.
And so just seeing that next, like, your guys' stuff, I'm like, dude, this is so fun. And like, it was packed too.
Yeah.
And then seeing other filmmakers there that I've worked with, like, I'm like, dude, you guys are here to watch it. They're like, hell yeah. Like, so I thought it was fun.
The local response was really great. And I obviously, it's a low budget indie film. And so going theatrical was probably never gonna happen, but going to that and seeing that test screening. And then actually we did get to go to a festival down in St. George just recently and have it screened there on a big screen. And so COVID really screwed everything. We were going to try to go to a lot of festivals and everything. We submitted to all of them. And then no joke, it was like 7 out of 10 canceled. And it was just, the whole thing just collapsed in on itself. So I was really pissed off because I like traveling for film stuff. And so there was the one physical screening down in St. George where they're still doing them. And I was like, I don't care. I'm going to this no matter what. And it ended up being really great because we had a pretty good audience that showed up even with everything going on. Doing all the masks and everything. Everyone was still trying to be safe as they could. But so I got to watch it with an audience again who I didn't know this time, right? I knew a lot of people last time. And then we got to do some really cool stuff. I got to sit and do a panel with Ted Raimi. That was so cool. So sitting there up there, like with my couple little indie horror projects, and Ted Raimi's over here talking about The Grudge. And I'm just like, no one gives a shit about what I have to say right now. But it was still cool to sit there, like, just to even be humored on that stage and to give whatever little input I had. So, no, it's already opened some doors. It's already acted as a resume, hopefully, for what our team can do. Because it was a very small group of people who just perpetually worked on this thing until it was done. And so hopefully with a budget, we could do that again, but just quicker and not have to take so long to make it.
I'm just happy for you guys. I think that's so fun.
No, it's cool.
Well, so, okay. What kind of inspired you to get into filmmaking then? Like, is there a movie that kind of like kickstarted it for you, or?
Let me think. Any specific movie? I don't know. I used to always do like drama. Like I did plays and stuff when I was a kid. And at first, maybe it was born out of liking the attention, honestly. Like, I mean, as a kid, it's exciting to have people clap for you and everything like that. And, obviously it's totally minute, but I think it was that thrill that kind of maybe got me excited about it. And then when I went to East Hollywood and kind of started to see professionals teach these classes and do things, I kind of realized like, man, I really like this. So as far as like an individual film that inspired me, probably Indiana Jones would probably be the one I can think of most. And then also the Mummy. Actually, I take it back. The Mummy is by far my preferred one, but the first DVD I ever got was The Mummy Returns on DVD. And I remember that was the first time I got to go and watch all the special features. which was a new thing, right? With DVD, all of a sudden they put all this extra stuff on, because on VHS they occasionally would have something. But so I remember watching the making of and behind the scenes and outtakes, and that just enthralled me because I'd never seen into that world like that. And so probably that one actually, yeah, it's the Mummy Returns, which is arguably a bad movie, but a good sequel, I guess you'd put it, right?
It's fun. I think it's just I think Brendan Fraser kills it with the Mummy series.
Yeah, he is good. Like I said, I think I remember watching the movie and like, it was like, okay, it wasn't as good as the first one, but it had all the cast back. It had, a new story. It just like, it brought everything back that made it palatable. And so it was like, okay, this is fun. Even if it's a little dumber, it was like still fun to have all that back. And so, yeah, that one. And then Indiana Jones, more just because I wanted to be an action star, but maybe someday, I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny you brought up the special feature. I think the first film that I saw that had the special features. So I own Spider-Man on VHS, and they had Nickelback at the end of the credits to do their little music video to the movie.
Oh, the hero one.
Yeah.
And they say that a hero. Yeah.
Yep. And then I remember. Well, then I remember my dad. I think he bought it on DVD, and then that's actually one of the first special features I watched was how, like, especially like the whole parade scene, where the goblins trying to attack all the balloons and stuff, and Mary Jane almost gets squashed by the.
Speaking of Ted Raimi, right?
Yeah. So
he was in wasn't he the assistant in that one? Like John Jameson's assistant in the Spider-Man? Yeah. The guy he's always yelling at.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's Ted Raimi.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know. I think it's fun. Spider-Man's fun. I think special features, like you said, on DVDs were definitely an introduction to it. And I remember Underworld as well. I was a little bit too young to watch it at the time, granted, but I remember watching the special features for that. And
how old were you when you watched Underworld?
When it came out. So it came out in 2003. I was in third grade, maybe fourth grade.
Okay. So I was like 15 because I saw it like the year after it came out. And I was so smitten by Kate Beckinsale.
Yep.
15-year-old me just, whoa, like she was such a badass. It was such a cool movie. And that's still a fun movie. I like Underworld. I actually went back and watched them again all the way through, even to the new ones that just came out. And
they kind of decreased. Yeah.
They kind of have a downward slope, but that first one was really cool.
Yeah. Well, I remember when it was in theaters, it came out next to Spy Kids in 3D. And I remember after watching Spy Kids, because my mom took me and my sister to that, they had to go use the bathroom. And I remember trying to view through like the window of the, theater for Underworld and just watching like all the slow motion bullets and stuff. I'm like, dude,
yeah.
Wait till I was 17.
Like more, Spy Kids or Underworld. What was I've seen Spy Kids. I remember watching it, and I was too old to watch Spy Kids because I remember like thinking, God, what am I watching? Like, the bad guys, like the finger bad guys.
Yeah,
I'm talking about thumbs. Thumbs. I was like, okay, this is like a fever dream or something. This is bizarre.
Yeah, well, and that it's interesting too because like I didn't know. So Robert Rodriguez directed those, and then not knowing his previous work, like Dusk Till Dawn, from 96 or whatever.
That's the Clooney one, right?
Yeah. And they're vastly different, but that's definitely more adult oriented than Spy Kids. And just seeing him go back and forth between the kid universe and like this adult universe. And now even like The Mandalorian, he did the latest episode for The Mandalorian. I don't know if you're caught up on that.
I did. Yeah. I just watched it.
Yeah. With with that spoiler character being a badass. And
yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, this is Robert Rodriguez. Holy shit.
He's very versatile. Yeah, that's really cool. It's funny. You're talking about Dusk to Dawn. I remember I was like down at my grandma's on vacation and I was watching from Dusk Till Dawn it was on TV. So I tuned in at like 20 minutes into the movie and I'm just watching this, these guys on the run and I had no clue this was a vampire movie. And so, they get to that bar and all the vampires get naked and start killing everyone. And I was just like, wait, what? Like, hold on. Wait, what happened? Because I was not expecting that. Like, it was like everyone up to that point, it was a crime movie. And then all of a sudden there's vampires. Okay. So man, it threw me off completely. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, well, and so my first introduction to Michael Myers was kind of like that. It was on HBO. It wasn't the first movie though. It was The Curse of Michael Myers. You know that I think it's number
Yeah.
6, and
Yeah.
the opening of that is like them sacrificing a baby, and you just
Oh,
see,
geez.
yeah, you just see Michael Myers' mask in the shadows and shit, dude. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? This is terrifying.
I don't remember that one. Maybe I haven't even seen that one. That's great. They sacrifice a baby.
Yeah, dude.
Getting
Yeah.
into the witch territory.
Well, and like they had like, yeah, like they had like candles everywhere, and like this baby was just sitting there crying, and like this girl's trying to run away from Michael Myers. It's this weird storyline, and uh, I think there's like 2 cuts of it. There's like the theatrical cut, and there's the producer's cut.
Okay.
And the producer's cut for the longest time was the bootleg version, and then they finally were like, "Fuck it, you guys can have this cut, whatever."
They're a cult, right? Isn't that the whole thing in that one?
Yeah.
There's like a cult that's worshiping him or something like that.
Yeah,
It got
yep.
really weird.
It got really weird, and they stopped after that one, and then they brought it back with like H2O, and they tried to like retcon everything.
Yeah. Maybe I have seen that one actually, because I remember the cult, but I don't remember that. Maybe I mentally blocked it out. I don't remember the baby getting sacrificed, but I do remember the weird cult, the cult of Michael Myers.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't. I mean, they kind of introduced that in the new one with the podcasters being obsessed with him and the weird doctor, but I don't know. Did you like the new one? I don't know. Did you see it?
Yeah, how do I put this? I really liked a lot about it. To me, the thing that I didn't like about it was like the kills, which is like the thing that you should like about it, right? Yeah. Like I liked the setup, the atmosphere, I liked the play out, but then just like the actual stabbings and stuff were so, I don't know. I was honestly kind of like, what the heck? Like he walks up behind the girl and just sticks a knife through her head. And it's just like, that to me isn't scary. You know what I mean? Like
it's just brutal.
Someone yeah. Like to what's his name? Rob Zombie's credit. Cause on those movies, it was the flip side. I didn't really like a lot of the structure in it, but I thought the killings were just brutal. Like they were so brutal. And that to me is like, I remember one scene, I don't remember which one it is, but there's like a hospital worker that he just stabs behind a desk. And it is just 2. Like, so is that 2?
That's
good
2.
God. Like, I just remember think like that just like legitimately was, oh man. So he had like good and bad and good and bad. So I liked the movie overall more. I just, to me, the what am I trying to say here? His persona just wasn't scary when he actually went to kill these people. It was leading up to it. They built it up so well. And then it was just like, oh, he just stabbed someone, they're dead. Oh, I just kind of back. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I did enjoy it. And I am excited to watch I guess they're making 2 more now, right?
I know. And they're like, oh, here's a teaser for us. But then after the teaser, they're like, oh yeah, this is coming out next year. Thanks, COVID.
Because of COVID. Yeah. COVID screwed everything.
Don't tease us with the footage that we're not going to see for a whole fucking year.
Yeah. I'm hoping that they go back to theatrical stuff once this clears up. I don't mind streaming stuff, but I really love the theater experience. Like you were saying, it was always fun. I'd go see movies by myself. So
that's the best way. A lot of people thought I was weird for going by myself. And I'm like, dude, I don't have to be on anybody's schedule but mine. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I remember there was a couple times I'd be driving home from work and or I'd get off work early or something unexpected. And I had like 4 or 5 hours when I normally would be home. And I just wouldn't tell anyone. And I'd just go see a couple movies, smuggle in. I remember one time I smuggled in like a bunch of McDonald's and then I got an upset stomach like halfway through the movie. And so then I ended up missing the other half of the movie. So yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, what was the last movie you saw before COVID hit in the theater?
The Invisible Man.
It was a good one.
Yeah, I'm glad that they went that route instead of trying to have some action giant crap like they did with the Tom Cruise Mummy, which I don't hate, by the way. But yeah, they I guess I'm tired of studios just assuming that like whatever they put out, people are gonna love. You know what I mean? Like, whether if they don't put any thought into it or they try to rush things, like they just, okay, like Justice League's a good example. It's like, oh, everyone's going to love it because it's Justice League. Well, not if it's a horrible movie, right? Um, and so I thought that the Mummy was like that. It tried to set up this whole world, and it was like, okay, dial it back there a little bit, and let's just pace ourselves. So,
Yeah, dude, that Mummy had a lot of fun elements to it. Like with introducing Mercury, in the tombs and stuff. I'm like, dude, that's kind of cool. And then the fact that like he was like indestructible, like they could have had a lot of fun with that. And then they
yeah,
went this weird. It's when they try to force set up a universe that has yet to be set up.
yeah,
It's exactly what Warner Brothers did with like the Justice League, like
yeah,
force us
exactly.
into it instead of just setting up one by one. Um,
Yeah.
and I think the dark universe, as they call it, could have had some potential if they would have just slowed the fuck down.
Well, I'm a huge fan of those old movies. Like if you
Uh-huh.
look, I got the Wolfman poster up. Where am I here? Right up there.
Yep.
So like, I love those. I grew up watching those, and I definitely did. I didn't mind the Wolfman that came out in like 2010. It
Was
was
it Del
okay.
Toro? Yeah.
Yeah, the director's cut's a lot better than the theatrical. Much better movie, but yeah, I've been waiting for him to do that. And so the Invisible Man was like a good modern like retelling of that. Like there are things I didn't like about it, but overall, like I walked out and I remember I was like, there's just not a lot I didn't like about that. Like it was really fun and scary, and I don't know. So I was glad that they went with the Blumhouse version. So I don't know, maybe they'll learn from it. I'd love to see a Wolfman movie like taken back to its roots, because I love the Wolfman. That's probably my favorite of those old movies.
Yeah. Well, it seems like whenever a studio's involved, it's just effects over effects over effects rather than like story and character.
Yeah.
And with Blumhouse, thankfully they're more of like a lower budget studio compared to like these major studios. And so I wonder if
Yeah.
that I think they give the directors and filmmakers involved more creative freedom
Yeah.
um to pull it off essentially. So yeah, I'm excited to see what they come up with. I did like Invisible Man. I like the production design more than anything else. Like that house that they lived in, I'm like, that's a sexy looking house.
Yeah.
What?
It's like this giant, yeah. When she's first escaping in the beginning, that's a cool one. My favorite thing about that was how they shot it like it pan over and just like sit on nothing. And you're just like,
Yep.
okay, well, you know what I mean? It worked. Like they baited it and I was totally into it. And then, like you see that the chair compressed down as he's just sitting, the things like that, where it's like, you're not quite sure what you're looking at, but I ate it up. It was a really fun movie. And like I said, yeah, that was the last one before. When did that come out? Was that January?
January, yeah.
Yeah. And then COVID came out. Actually, you know what? I just lied to you. I totally take it back. I forgot. I went and saw Nolan's movie.
Tenet?
What's it called?
Tenet.
Tenet. Yeah. I guess that was well after COVID, but I did go and see Tenet. Man, that movie gave me a headache. I don't know. A lot of people really did. You see it?
I did see it, yeah.
Okay. What, did you like it or no?
Here's the thing. So I think Christopher Nolan is a great conceptualist. Like he has these grand ideas. I just think he needs a writer like his brother, like Jonathan Nolan. When Jonathan Nolan writes with him,
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Nolan's a better writer and he's able to focus in on these elements. That's not so expository like Tenet was. And it's like Christopher Nolan didn't trust the audience enough to try and get it. And he just tried to include a lot of exposition that just made it even more convoluted than it already was.
Yeah. The whole concept I really struggled with. Like he presents it, he's like, oh, by the way, we can, travel back in time through parallel universes and go. And it's just like, okay, what?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then like, I tried to stick with it and I'm trying to watch it. And I remember like, and I'm very like, not to like brag because it's not my intent, but like, I'm pretty good at picking up plot points in movies. I can figure things out. I know what's coming just because I know scene structure. I research it a lot. I read a lot. And I just remember Kara leans over to me halfway through the movie and she's like, what's going on? And I'm just like, I don't know. And then they get to the end and there's like the backwards battles. I was just like, okay, you have lost me. Like I walked out of that movie. I was like, I need an aspirin. This is some bullshit. Like it pissed me off because it was like, I like Nolan. I thought Inception was like the same thing, a grand idea, but it made sense all the way through.
Right.
Tenet was like Inception on acid with a lot less to bite onto. You just have to accept things as they are and just go with it. And I honestly thought he shit the bed on that one. I really did not enjoy that movie. I walked out frustrated, which I don't think is.
Well, and I was kind of mad that it came out during the pandemic because that's the only movie I've seen in theaters since COVID.
Yeah.
And I even told myself before seeing that, like, I'm like, there's more people in there than, I probably should leave and get my refund.
Yeah.
But I almost cried, number one, during the trailers just because it felt so good.
Yeah.
To be back in that.
To be back. Yeah.
And seeing Dune on the big screen and with the teaser being like, oh, this day we're releasing the trailer or whatever. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
But
well, Dennis Villeneuve is my favorite director ever, hands down. That guy, everything he does with
is gold.
Yeah. Enemy was weird, but even Enemy I could appreciate. Like he went all, artsy on it, but like it was such a cool premise. But yeah, everything he's done, God, I love that guy. I'm one of the rare few. I'm not a huge fan of the original Blade Runner, which I like it. I appreciate it. And I love Harrison Ford, but I was never like, when I say I'm not a fan, I don't mean I don't like it. I just mean like, it was never like the Indiana Jones to me as a kid. It was never the Star Wars or even the Alien, right? Like I remember those ones. Blade Runner was always kind of off for me a little bit. And Blade Runner 2049, I freaking loved. Like I just adored it. And so maybe actually I could go back and watch the original now again. I know there's like 10 cuts.
Yeah, which cut did you watch? Let's ask that question.
I don't even remember. As honest to God.
Here's the thing with Blade Runner, because there's so many cuts, each cut has its own different interpretation of what the ending is supposed to mean. I know they're theatrical. There's a voiceover, and it's more inclined or more leaning toward the fact that he's not a replicant. And then the final cut, which I think came out in 2007, is definitely the complete opposite, where it's leaning more towards that he is a replicant. And then I'm
pretty sure that's the one I saw.
Yeah, well, and I'm pretty sure 24. I'm not pretty sure. I love that 2049 did not answer that at all.
Yeah, it left it open. Yeah, that to me, I just thought that was a masterful movie. And what was the one he did right? Was it Arrival right before that? Whew, man,
there. I got my tat.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, I'm really into the UFO stuff. Like Not Alone, right? That's my alien abduction. I love that kind of stuff. And I don't know if I'm a true believer or not, but I'm really interested by the idea. And man, Arrival just was such a solid ET movie. It was so cool. Even that one kind of gave me a headache at the end. I was like trying to figure it out, but at least it made sense. Like you could conceptualize what they were trying to say.
Yeah.
Whereas again, Tenet I don't know what's happening right now.
And it was ambitious. And going back to what I was saying, though, was that like I was mad that it came out during COVID because I need to re-see it. Like I need to rewatch it to like really digest what the fuck I just watched, especially the third act. Like
I really love the actor. What was his name? The lead. It's kind of new. That lead actor. He was really good.
Washington. I think his name is. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah. What is it? He was fantastic. Him and what's his name? Twilight dude. Robert
Pattinson. And
they both were great.
The guy's name is John David Washington. Great. Yeah.
That's right. John David Washington. Yeah. He was really good.
No, he was. And I'm telling you, like that third act though was like, it added everything that it tried to introduce in the first 2 hours. And then it was like, hey, here's all of our ingredients. Have fun. And you're just like, okay, this is how that works. And you're trying to piece it together. Yeah. And then watching people walk backwards and people walking forward, running while shooting. And like, dude, I was just like, I need to rewatch it.
Like, that's what I say. At that point, my brain just shut off, and I was like, "Yep, okay." I think that the guy is not the main actor, but like I think Pattinson is like the dude's son or something like that. I don't know. That's the thing. I couldn't figure it out, and it pissed me off because I kept trying to like what are you trying to tell me, Nolan? I know there's a message here. So I don't know. I'll definitely go see his next movie and everything, but.
I don't hate Nolan at all, especially with his comments. Did you read his comments recently about HBO Max?
I didn't know. I know he's not happy about it.
Yeah, no, he's not happy about it. He pretty much called HBO Max shady, which he has a point because HBO Max did not contact the other filmmakers, like, Denis Villeneuve with Dune. And they're like, yo, we're releasing all these movies on our platform the same day that they're released on theaters. But that kind of screws up back end deals because Dune, especially, all the actors and people involved agreed to take a lower pay to increase the back end stuff so they could get a sequel. That kind of, I get that, but also I think, I don't know. No, I don't know. I think no one should be like the last guy to talk about that though, just because like he was trying to push people into a theater during the middle of a pandemic. I'm like, it's kind of a weird approach, bro. And then he's blaming the studio, I think, for his loss on the movie. But I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, dude. Like, there's more at play than just the studio,
You can't force anything when you're with all this going on.
So I don't know. I like him though. I like his approach.
Yeah, me too. He's a great director, and like I said, I mean, he gave us the best Batman movies ever. I mean,
I know.
So yeah, they're fantastic. So yeah, no hate to Nolan. Just yeah. And again, who am I to judge Christopher Nolan? Right? I've made some indie horror films, and that's it. So I'm in no place, But it's just as an objective audience member, I struggled with that one. But
yeah, well, my favorite Nolan film is Interstellar, which
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one, but it has another third act where it's just like, ooh, a lot to take in,
Yeah, but even then, I remember like I at least understood. That's what I'm saying. I at least understood it in the end. Like it made sense to me enough that I was like, I have only seen that once. I should go back and watch it again. But
you should.
I will. But that one I did enjoy it when I walked out of it. I was like, oh, okay, that was cool. Again, a little like mind buggy, but at least it made sense to me. So.
Yeah, the thing with, I think Nolan's a pro. I'm going to say pro because I think he's a pro at, how do I phrase it? Non-linear storytelling, in the sense that Interstellar was essentially that, especially at the end with all the editing back and forth, with like, this is present, this is future, this is past, like whatever. And then Dunkirk worked kind of like a poem, where he was telling 3 different stories and intersecting it all, but like to know exactly where to cut and to place it to make sense, like that's a whole nother craft, like a level of expertise that, not everybody's going to understand right off the back. And like, it seemed like he had a plan for it. And I recently watched a video of him explaining Memento and drawing a graph on it and like placing points and going back and forth. And dude, this guy, like he has it planned out.
Memento's a fun one.
Yeah. So I liked it. But.
What's his name? Who's the actor in that one? I love that dude.
Pierce.
Very underrated actor. Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked him in The Count of Monte Cristo. I thought he was so good in that. And then even The Time Machine, which gets a lot of hate. I thought The Time Machine was a lot of fun.
I like that too. But I was very young when I watched that. So maybe it's just nostalgia.
I went back and watched it, I think last year.
Hold up.
And I thought it was still fun. Even the CGI for back then was still fine. Like it was as good as you could expect from that time. But yeah, I like Guy Pearce. He's always a good actor.
Yeah,
he's kind of underrated.
Yeah, I liked him, and he played a villain recently. It was a Marvel movie actually. I think it was Iron Man 3. Yep, it was Iron Man 3.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
He plays a douchebag in that.
I forgot about that.
And then I also
like good at it. So
yeah, he is. And Prometheus, I thought, and Alien Covenant for that matter, I thought he was like a cool little cameo to say the least. It wasn't like a huge part, but
for sure.
I think those are solid movies.
Roland or whatever his name was.
Yeah. But
so let me ask you something. What made you kind of want to start doing a podcast?
What the podcast? Well, I like talking to people and getting to know them. I think as artists, as like a whole, and I know it's kind of a general idea, right? Kind of vague, like what qualifies as an artist. But I think no matter what field you fall under, like you're still going to face the same struggles that other artists are going to face, essentially.
Sure.
So trying to see like how everybody connects in that sense and how we're all in it together after all, despite the hardships that, it's not like if you're going to hit hardships, it's just a matter of when and how much.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. I was talking to Kelly Wise. He directed Abigail Haunting.
Yeah, yeah.
With Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to kind of get to know him just a little bit, not like a lot, but we've talked a couple times, and I've met Chelsea in person. Chelsea and I actually were in a movie together that was shot. She actually plays the lead, and I'm only on screen for like 2 minutes, but I die. But I don't know what the title was. I know it's in post right now. It's like a kind of like a alien movie similar to Predator. Something comes down, kills a bunch of it. It was really fun to do. They had some really good stunts going on. The stunt coordinator was actually the stunt guy for They Live Inside Us as well. So I showed up to set and he's there. So anyway, so Chelsea, I met her finally after talking to her, because I think she was actually at the screening of They Live Inside Us too. So at some point I want to work on something with her. She's really good. But anyway, so Kelly, so he actually, I was talking to him and he essentially said exactly what you did. He was like, because I was expressing some frustrations I was having about talking to producers and things like that. And he's like, you know what though? It's the same like for me. And he's more like, he's farther down the road. He's got a good production company and he gets investors and everything. And he's like, I face the exact same struggles. It's just on a different scale. It's always the same problem you're going to have. Like you're always going to have the same creative frustration. Someone's always going to have a disagreement that's going to put a jam. He's like, there's always the same problems. Some things get easier, but the things that get easier make other things harder. So he's like, you're always going to have the same issue. So we always say, oh, when have we made it? Right. You know? And obviously I think I still have a very long way to go, but it's like, it was reassuring to know that that's always the struggle we face when we're trying to put ourselves out there, is ever present, you know? And, I think that you just have to get used to that. You know, there's always going to be people who hate what you do, no matter what you make. Right.
Yep.
And there's people who are going to love it. Kind of back to what I was saying in the beginning too, with They Live Inside Us. It's like, it's such a interesting thing to see these two polarizing points of view come out, where people either just trash your movie or they just love it. And it's just like, how can two people, you know, I mean, objectively look at something and feel so different?
I mean, just look at The Last Jedi.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, but that's a good point.
I had to bring it up.
Like, you know, I'm going to have to. I'm actually going on another podcast, I think, in January, specifically to talk about The Last Jedi.
Dude, I'm tuning in.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, you're gonna get your stress ball when I'm talking about it. But because the guy who we were on his podcast, I can't remember what the podcast is called now, but we were on his podcast for They Live Inside Us. And so he's going to be doing a Star Wars one. He said he wants to have me on just because we were at the film festival, and he's like, yeah, it's my favorite Star Wars movie. And I was like, oh God, man. Oh no. And so he's like, you know what, let's have this conversation. I'll bring you on and we can talk it through. And I was like, all right, it's your funeral. But to my point though, like that's what I'm saying. Like you really can't. Some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it. And as an artist, I think you just have to accept that that's going to be part of it. And it's hard because it's like you work on something so hard and you put it out there and someone's like, man, this is dog shit. And you're just like, what, you know, but it is part of it. I keep telling Mike, I want to do, like mean tweets. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
The mean tweets. I want to do, mean movie reviews on our YouTube channel where we like go through the comments and just find all the bad ones on like on our trailer or whatever and just read them. Cause there's some funny ones. I mentioned this on another podcast too, but when the trailer dropped for They Live Inside Us, one of the comments was like, man, that dude looks like an older bloated Elijah Wood. I was like, you son of a bitch. Like it was funny. And then when we first released the Witching season, my favorite one, and again, if it makes me laugh, then it's like, okay, well done. It was like, man, it was the one on the first episode. I think we came out. It's like, yeah, it's like a bunch of guys got off of work at Applebee's and said, hey, what do you guys want to do tonight? Want to make a movie? It's like, I don't know. It's just freaking mean, but you just got to laugh at it. And then other people are like, we watch this every year because we love it so much. And
you're like, but these guys everyone. Don't.
Yeah. So I kind of got off on a tangent there, but I think you just have to accept that no matter how good your stuff is, there's going to be people who just trash it, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
even
I,
going up to like The Witch, like, or these fan or Hereditary, these really, really great movies, people get on there and just like, this is so awful. And it's like, well, objectively, it's not just because you didn't like it, you know, but I don't know.
yeah. I showed my parents The Witch, number one. I saw it in a theater
Yeah.
with them. I thought it was funny because it was playing next to like a super
Brave.
Christian movie. Oh, was it playing next to Brave on yours? Are you
No, no,
saying,
no. Sorry.
oh, you're saying Brave to bring
Yeah.
your
Brave,
parents
no,
to
brave for taking your parents to The Witch. Yeah.
Well, I took them, I took my sister, like it was like a family outing, man. And my stepdad really liked it, and him and I were on the same page, like, yo, that slow burn's like, like it
Mm.
hits.
Yeah.
And then my mom and my sister was like, what kind of shit is this? Like, this is garbage. And then I showed them
Goes back to what I
Hereditary.
was saying. Yeah.
and,
Oh, geez. Yeah.
and it was the same thing. Like, my mom's like, this is so slow. It's so dumb. I'm like, but it's boiling. It's like the tension underneath just boils over. And like the third act
Yeah.
just like reaches its all time, like mind fuck. Oh, dude. I don't know. I think Hereditary
Well,
is a better movie than Midsommar. I'll be on the record for that. So
I think so. I think so too. And I think that's what Mike was actually going for. They Live Inside Us. I think he was trying to create this kind of under thing where it's like there's this suspense and there's something going on that you don't know what it is. You know, it's like, why is he writing these things? Why is he seeing these things? Because one of the main complaints we had is that the movie is too long, which objectively speaking, maybe it is. I don't know. But every scene in there was like in there for a reason. And if you go and you watch it, there's hints throughout the whole thing that he did really, really well, at least in my opinion. And he wanted to create that kind of slow burn. And so it's funny you bring that up because, yeah, that's something that specifically was the goal making this movie. We didn't want to just be like an in your face slasher or whatever. I wanted to have a lot more depth to it. And so, we definitely took a big bite trying to tackle that concept, but we did what we could do. So
no, and I think it takes patience to even pull that off. And I think you guys did do it. I'll be on record for that, and that's not being biased. Like that's not being biased at all.
Appreciate that.
And I think the patience though, once you get to the point where you're trying to get, like when it's revealed why your character is writing the stories, like when everything comes together, it's such a nice payoff. Like it's like, oh my god, it makes sense. Like, and then you start thinking about all the plot devices that are like implemented throughout there, and like they're so subtle. It's just like the level of talent it takes to like subtly do that in a very effective manner. I think you guys pulled it off. So
I appreciate that. That's why it took us 3 years to make it, is from start to finish, because we were thinking it all the way through. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for one of the, it's a bloody indie horror, then it's not going to be for you. If you're looking for something that you have to think about and watch and figure out, and you like slow burns, then it's going to be more along with what you're looking at, But
yeah,
each their own. That's all right.
So speaking of failures or the struggles, like how low has it brought you, like being in the film industry?
What do you mean, like how low? You mean like my lowest point, like just getting frustrated, or?
Yeah, like what was your lowest point? Like, was there like ever a moment like self-doubt where you seriously kind of questioned what you were doing with it?
Pretty much every time I do a new project, I have that. It's that moment usually in post-production where you watch something and you just like realize that you think it's good, but you realize that your opinion doesn't matter. And so you're kind of faced with like, well, we're going to put this out there and hope it's good. Right. With They Live Inside Us, it was funny because we had a lot of positive reviews from a lot of sites. And there was one that just hated it, just despised it. And just like, that's what I was saying. You can have 5 good ones and 1 that's bad. And that was, I don't know why that one just bugged me so much. But again, I'm kind of starting to develop, and every project you go through the same process too. Like you first are upset by it and then you don't care anymore. And I'm at that point now where it's like, we did what we did. It's out there. If you don't like it, I don't really give a crap, but there's always that moment where you put yourself out there and people are going to respond good or bad. And the bad initially, like right after it's released, is always struggle because it's like, oh man, is it, am I good at this, or is it just me blowing smoke up my own ass? Right. And so I don't know. I can't think of any one specific moment, but I know that there really is a life cycle to me when I'm doing these things. Because I hate watching myself act. I don't like it. And so when other people hate it too, then it's like, it validates that deep down, like, oh, well, yeah, I can see why I don't like, I don't like watching myself. Now I see why they don't. Right. And so I don't know. It's a life cycle. And I think once you accept that, it's okay. And I've kind of, especially with the feature coming out, kind of realized that that's just part of the creative process. So
yeah.
Sorry, a long answer for your simple question, but
No, I love it. Were like reading the negative stuff, like, was it ever constructive, or was it just like, this is horse shit, and they didn't offer any constructive feedback to it?
that's the thing. If it's constructive, I actually don't mind it at all.
Right.
Like some of my favorite reviews are reviews, it's like 5 out of 10, and they go through and they break it down. I actually like that because I don't like when people kiss my ass either. Right.
Right.
I mean, I like people enjoying the movie, but it's like when it's perfect. It's like, well, I know it's not perfect. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that makes me think, are they just trying to be too nice to me, or you know what I mean? So I actually really do appreciate objective criticism because it helps me be better. Because if someone's taken the time to be objective, it means they've thought it through. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, if they're going to take the time to put their thoughts down, clearly it planted a seed in them deep enough that they wanted to express something about it. And so whether that's good or bad, I don't mind that at all. I encourage that. The people who just say it's dog crap or whatever, it's almost like there's when someone comes on just to be purposely vindictive, when they're criticizing stuff you've done, I almost like want to thank those people, because it's like, I like to prove those kind of assholes wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, you hated my movie. Well, guess what? I'll take the $10 you spent to do it and go buy a drink in your honor, so you can kiss my ass. You know what I mean? So it's almost like it motivates me, like, cause it's like, okay, so you didn't like this, or you didn't like that, or you thought my acting was this or that. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to go do something else that's going to be even better. And the next time. And so, I at first it's a frustrating, but then it's almost a motivator for me, because it's like, okay, well, I can take this and learn from it. So,
yeah. Well, even so, if a film gets a bad review, I like to look at the bad reviews to see exactly what, they're saying about it. And more often than not, I do find the constructive ones, they often like get me more curious about watching the movie. Like, oh, I want to see where they're coming from this point of view. You know what I mean? But I usually skip like a lot of professional critics, even like some of them are just like, this is shit. Like, and then they use all these fancy ass words to make their fluff look like it's so impactful when it's just them saying it's shit. Like there's no constructive feedback at all.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, but like, because for me, I think film criticism, like true film criticism and filmmaking, go hand in hand. Critics and I think filmmakers they very much have a relationship that kind of have to strive off of each other. You know what I mean? And there has to be that understanding of a relationship, even though like, and I know a lot of critics who are friends with filmmakers, they're so honest with their films. They're like, yeah, I didn't like it for these reasons, but it's never like an attack on the filmmaker. A lot of these crap reviews that come out are attacks on the filmmakers and the actors. Like it's never about the project itself.
Yeah.
So, I often find constructive stuff better. And I think that kind of stems from just in college, like in my screenwriting class, or just like the film classes in general, it'd always be, what can I do better? Like, how can I fix this kind of feedback, And there were some people who were like, I just didn't like it. And it's like, all right, like whatever. But you kind of learn to go navigate to get the feedback you need, especially if it is negative. You're like, this was negative about the project, but it helps me as a person, essentially.
Yeah,
so it kind of goes in hand what you were talking about with, all right, like I will do better.
Yeah, and again, and doesn't matter. Like back to what I was saying before that, no matter what you do, you're gonna have people who dislike it, and that's okay. like I objectively looking back, it's like at everything I've ever done, as long as you try your hardest at it, it's like, you know what, that's okay. Um, and, there's going to be people who get it and people who don't. So, it's all good, but
Yeah. Well, and I think each project is just, it's a nice reflection of where you are at in life when you revisit it. You're like, oh my God, I was going through this and this in a personal life, A lot of the personal stuff doesn't make it on screen
sure.
at all. But seeing how much effort you put into the project, despite what was going on, like it's just like a growth essentially. And then especially when you compare your new projects that you guys are going to be working on to, your latest feature, like I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be like even more elevated. You know what I mean? Like it's stepping
I think
stones to greatness.
It's the constant quest to always to do better, to be better. If at any point, if I ever stagnate, I realize I'm just not doing anything different, then at that point, maybe it's time to, be done. But to date, no, I'm very proud of everything we've ever done. Going back as far as I can think of, it's like everything has been a step. And even going back to I told you the horrible short films way back when, it's just so self-indulgent, me trying to, make these things and like, oh, look at me. Right. But those taught me things. Right. And so even going back that far, but yeah, no, I'm very proud of everything we've done. I think, it was such a journey to like put everything into that for so long. And, it definitely taught us a lot about how to make a movie too, because we'd never done a feature like that. And so already I have some ideas of like, okay, next time, here's what we can do to make this better, make this quicker. And so, no, I'm excited. Like I said, we've got a couple things we have coming. Some of it's kind of contingent upon how the pandemic goes and everything like that. But and it's also really fun too, to like, for the first time in my life in the last few years, it's like, we actually have legitimate fans, which is weird. You know what I mean? We have people who like sit there waiting for the notification bell for us to post something. And I get messages on social media a lot. People just, hey, thanks. We love this and that. And it's still alien to me. You know what I mean? Because I legitimately do not see myself as that role. Like I'm not in this for what I was in it when I was a kid. Like I like the attention as a kid. For me, it's very fulfilling to tell stories now. And so it's like, I don't go into it hoping, okay, I hope this gets X amount of likes. And like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But it's when you see people year after year and the audience keeps growing and everything, it's so vindicating to know like that there are people out there who understand what we're doing. Because it's like I was saying, ultimately, when you put yourself out there, it's out of your control. So
yeah, once it's out there, it's out there. There's no going back. Unless you're Ridley Scott, who likes to do 7 cuts of Blade Runner, or Francis Ford Coppola with The Godfather 3.
No, I'm never going to George Lucas my stuff. It's just
special effects everywhere.
It's too painful. Yeah, I mean, like an extent. We're probably going to release a some kind of a special features edition or something at some point, because we have a lot of deleted scenes and stuff like that. So that I like, right? But yeah, it's like once something's done, I like to just be done with it, because you can just go back and nitpick yourself forever. There's shots in the movie to this day where I'm like, Mike, why didn't you just do that different take or something like that? It just drives me nuts. But it's almost like, well, ultimately it wasn't my call though. I wasn't the director on that, so I had to trust him on that. But yeah, you can always beat yourself up and let it eat you alive, or you can just accept it as it is. And again, look to the next thing. So
that kind of goes into like, what are some of the best highs you've experienced with, just pursuing acting and filmmaking?
I mean, we've won a few awards and stuff like that, and that's always fun. Like I like that,
Right.
For me, my favorite thing is when you finish a screening and you can tell that the audience reacted the way you wanted them to, if that makes sense. So it's like, whether it's a short film I did or whatever, when you are sitting in the audience at a film festival specifically, and they don't even know you're there. That's one thing I really like is, I remember some of the short films we did, we'd sit there in the back and just kind of watch people. And sometimes I used to have to, I can do it now, but I used to actually get up and leave. I used to not be able to sit in there because it made me sick to my stomach. But in recent years, I've been able to do that. And when the audience reacts the way that you want them to, and because you can gauge reaction, like you can tell if people are scared or this or that. And so that to me is the biggest thrill, knowing that the story you tried to create is affecting people the way you wanted them to be affected. And obviously one of the biggest lows is when it doesn't, right? When a joke doesn't land or this or that. But so far, I've never been to a lot of screenings where we didn't get a good reaction for the most part. So that's probably my favorite thing, is to see people actually get excited about it. You know, not about me, but about this thing that we've collectively made. Yeah. Yeah. Experience what we intended them to.
Yeah.
So,
I remember when my short film had its first like public thing at the Utah Film Festival. It was my first time doing it outside of college, so it was like really like nerve-wracking. Because in college,
was that Night of Adventure?
Yeah, because so like in college I worked with Landon on Secrets Within, which is one of those, you know, crappy short films that you do in school. And to this day it's on YouTube, and I'm like, it's not my favorite, but I've grown to appreciate it over the years. Like, oh, I see what I was kind of going for, or whatever, you know. But
I'll send you some of my shorts sometime. You'll feel better about yourself, I promise.
Well, so that was supposed to, in college, I thought it was supposed to be, you know, we're gonna have a showcase of all of our student films or whatever, and be a whole collective thing. Turns out that wasn't the case. They picked and chose who was going to be screening, who wasn't, and I was one of I think the 4 or 5 students who were not selected. And I was like, oh God, like it was kind of damaging, you know, to my ego, to say the least. But so Night of Adventure, having that first screening in a huge auditorium with like it was a pretty medium-sized crowd, bigger than I was actually expecting. And, you know, they were there for other projects as well. So wasn't necessarily mine at all, but it's like you said, it was interesting hearing them laugh at parts, and they were laughing at parts I was even intended to be funny, but like thinking back on it, I'm like, oh, I guess I could see why that's kind of funny. Or maybe, you know, that joke did not land, or, oh, people are kind of looking at it confused. Like, you know, it is interesting watching the reactions, but I think that the Q&A afterward was even more nerve-wracking. I don't like public speaking.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool experience nonetheless. And I look forward to like more down the road. That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I agree. It all goes back to what we said before, putting yourself out there and just hoping people understand it. And some will and some won't. But the second you stop, like, that's another thing too. The second you stop trying as a result of somebody not liking something, then guess what? They have just won, and you've let some nameless asshole define you, right?
Yep.
So that's why I take the approach of like, use it for motivation. Okay, well, you didn't like this. Well, I'm still the one who has a movie distributed and you're not. So
exactly,
you know, kiss my ass. I don't, you know, so, but it doesn't mean that I can't do better next time. So take it and run with it. So
exactly.
I have no doubt you'll make some other good stuff. I enjoyed Night of Adventure. That was a fun one.
Oh,
that screened with ours, right? At the was that or was that the year after?
It was the year after. Mine screened next to Bug Out, which was Lenny's project. And it was interesting too, because before that, I think this was actually Landon's idea, was to team up with Lenny and do like an invite on Facebook with like both our movie posters next to each other, be like, come to our screening, you know, and try to get as much people there as possible. I think that was fun too, is trying to network and promote it. I oddly found that really fun. But
are you doing anything for next year's festival?
Probably not. I'm still working. My next project I want to do was actually a feature. What that entails, I don't know. I have some scripts done, but we'll see. You know, it's like one of those you learn as you go kind of things. And my goal actually was to have maybe 2 or 3 scripts completely finished by the time COVID ends. And by completely finished, I mean, you know, ready to shoot. And just pick one of those and just go boom, right into production, and maybe make it in time for the festival. But I don't know. There's no reason to rush, I don't think, you know?
Yeah. like I said, the festivals really didn't happen with us. I think we are going to be screening at Film Quest in the spring. And
Ooh.
then again, we did submit to the Utah Festival as well. So figured even though the movie's out, um, they Film Quest wanted it even though it would be out, which is fine with us, you know.
Yeah.
And then the Utah Film Festival is just where kind of all the local group gets together. So it's like fun to have a screen there anyway. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully we'll see. But
Yeah. I like the local festivals. I think it's cool how much support is in their community. Everybody's on different
yeah,
projects and pages, but like there's like a general consensus of like support all around, regardless
yeah, for sure.
of the projects coming out. So
Yeah. I
I
think
think it's
everyone wants to see, especially like here in Utah, everyone wants to see Utah like be on the map for film, right?
yep.
And I think it's getting there. And again, what do I know, right? I'm just making indie films, but I think it's starting to get there. Obviously, we're known for religious stuff, which is fine, but it seems like that was all we were known for, and I'm finally starting to see other people branch out a little bit. So you have to maybe try to get some of the companies here to actually, invest in something not with one genre, but I think it's on its way. They definitely have the studios like Park City Studios, and even the Mormon Church has those cool sets down in southern Utah. And I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff you could do if we can tap into it. And so we'll see. I don't know. See what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm actually excited to see what comes out of COVID. I know once everything's lifted, my Facebook feeds just gonna be filled with people on set and you know booming. They're gonna be like booming in these projects. So
We were planning on starting another big project, which I won't say what it is because I think we're still going to try to start it soon. But like legitimately a year ago, right when this hit, we were planning on doing it, and then everything crashed, and so it's all been in limbo. But we do have something coming up. We're shooting hopefully soon. We're figuring out production and how to safely do it, but there'll probably be an announcement on that soon. So keep an eye out for that. But that should be fun. So
yeah, I'm excited to see
and then
you
we'll
guys'
see.
next project.
Yeah, then we'll see what comes after that. We've got a couple of big ideas. It just depends on if we can pull them together.
Look at you guys go. Do you write by any chance, or do you just act and direct?
No, I actually do a lot of writing.
Oh, that's right. You wrote Asylum.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote the movie you guys were going to make.
Oh.
So no, I wrote all the episodes of The Witching season that I directed. I also wrote. I co-wrote the story for They Live Inside Us. Mike did the screenplay, but we did a lot of writing sessions together, figuring it out. But he wanted it to be his vision specifically in terms of the characters, which is fine. And so, ultimately that was his. And then I have another feature screenplay that I have done that I wrote, and I'm kind of weighing that right now to see what bites. But yeah, so it just kind of depends. But yes, the long answer is yes. I whether it's directly or indirectly, I'm usually involved in some way in the writing behind what we do. So
I know I can't believe that I even asked that because we had lunch at a place with Landon and we were discussing writing stuff. It's just like God.
No, that's fine. No,
Yes, you're right.
No
I know
worries.
you're right. I like your writing, by the way. Especially the changes you've made to the script, stuff that like was already written. That like, I wrote and like you fixed it. And I was like, oh my God,
You talking Asylum?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. The little revision of that. Landon was saying that might actually get a reboot or something like that. Like they're still kind of toying with that idea. Is that?
Yeah, as far as I know, he's trying to reboot that whole thing still.
Okay.
I hope it works out.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know. Even if they don't use the story, that's fine. But yeah, it was funny because I'd never written something that like I'd not been really involved in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool being on set and watching everyone do this scene. I was like, oh, I wrote those lines. So I was just again just from stepping back and looking into it, and then I had that little bit part in it. But
well, I think it's so cool that we shot at the actual Asylum 49.
That was cool.
All night. Were you there all night, or that's actually that?
I was there till like midnight, and then I had to take off.
Midnight, yeah. That's actually the first time I met Michael because he was there with you, and he like looks over at me and he's like, "You taking BTS?" And I was like, "You're talking to me?" It was like starstruck because of your guys' witching season. I was like still new to like, oh my God, these guys are willing to work with us. Cause I thought we were like here on the pole, and I thought you guys were like here on the pole.
Well, like I said, man, we do not view ourselves as above anyone. We are still doing the same struggles, having the same issues. And as you continue to move forward, you'll get there. Again, it's not like we're that, massively far ahead. We've just worked hard a few things and had some luck, and you'll get there too. So just don't stop. That's the thing. Just don't stop doing it. And don't wait for opportunities to come. That's I give advice to anybody. It's not like I've done all these amazing, gigantic things, but the success that I've had and the exposure we've had, no one did that for us. We didn't wait for an agent to call us to give us an opportunity. It's like, okay, well, you know what? Screw it. We're going to do it on our own. So not to say that don't take opportunities, but like, yeah, don't sit around waiting for anyone to do something for you. Cause most of the time it's not going to, you may get lucky, but yeah, figure out a way to do what you want to do. Cause there is a way, especially now you're going to see a lot of indie films rise up. I think with COVID and the kind of the collapse of the standard movie structure. So
yeah,
now's the time, figure it out,
Yeah. I think COVID kind of broke our, what we're used to with theaters and studios.
Yeah.
It's just like, boom, non-existent, but
yeah, if you can make something good for very little, do it. Don't wait around for someone to give you a lot of money. Figure out a way to do it with nothing. So
I love that advice. Okay, well, we'll start wrapping this up. I just want to ask you one more question.
Sure.
How do you hope you can inspire others?
Inspire others. Like probably looping it back into kind of what I was just alluding to is, don't be discouraged by you not being at a level where you expected yourself to be, right?
Right.
Because if I look back when I was 25, I was hoping by now I'd be hanging out with Spielberg and everything. But as you get older, your priorities are going to change and things become less egotistical and more creative. So the older I get, the more I'm like, well, I may never achieve X, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to try for it. But even if I don't, as long as I put forth my best effort, that's okay. As long as I'm still making stuff. And that kind of going back to what I said at the beginning, like it's just not stagnating. Just don't let anyone tell you that what you're trying to achieve is unattainable. Because even if realistically it's not, it doesn't matter. Because you're going to be a better person for having pursued that. And you're going to be happier with yourself for having pursued that than if you listen to some asshole to begin with and just never did anything, right? Because guess what? There was a lot of people who were bumps in the road as we were trying to make these things. I remember way back when I was doing a crowdfund for a short film years ago, and it wasn't a very good short film. It was one of the, I think it was the Astrological Whipping Boy one I told you about. And there was this guy who I knew who was a friend of mine, I thought, and I was crowdfunding, and he basically came on and said, yeah, you're wasting your time. You're not good enough to do this, all that kind of stuff, just like being a total asshole. And I was just like, wow, and he's like, yeah, you're seeing lights that aren't there and you just need to give up. And it actually pissed me off because I was like, here's somebody who's supposed to be on my side and they're not. And then just recently, that same person like hit me up and was basically like, hey, I saw you're doing some movies. Hey, we should totally team up and make something.
The audacity.
Yeah. And it's just that. It's like, not everyone's going to make it to Hollywood and to, making all these things, but that doesn't mean you can't find fulfillment in what you do. And that doesn't mean that you don't try to get there. Right. So our indie horror film is just that. It's an indie horror film, but you know what? Took us a while, but we got a feature film that got distributed, picked up, and is screening all over the place. Right. And so that to me is like, okay, we did that. What's next? Right. It's that constant stepping. It's like, we've enabled ourselves to do this. We know we can do more. And so don't shortchange yourself by not achieving even the minimum goal, because that's going to lead to something else, So
Right. And I like your guys' approach, or not your guys', I'll just say your approach of letting it kind of be in the background, constantly running in the background while you're not focused on that now. Like you're just letting it
yeah,
do its thing and you're totally focusing on other projects. Exciting ones, that sounds like. So
yeah. Hey, maybe we'll get to team up on something. I'll let you know.
yeah,
Might
dude.
have some opportunities. So we're working hard. I'm hoping this year leads to some opportunities because Lord knows we're trying. But we've already, just because of this feature coming out, we've already made a lot of contacts. Like I said, I went from, it's insignificant in the big picture of things, but I went from making a couple horror films to sitting on the stage with Ted Raimi hosting panels and stuff. Like, that's really cool, right? I mean, it doesn't change where I'm at, right? It doesn't mean suddenly I'm so successful or anything, but it's a reminder that, like, you can start to play in these leagues if you just keep pursuing that, right? So never know.
Well, James, I like your philosophy.
Yeah, well, I don't, but no, I'm just kidding. No.
All right. Well, where can people find you, man?
Oh, hell. Let me see if I can even remember what my social media stuff is here. So on Instagram, you can find me at James Morris 7403, I believe. Let's see. Maybe. Caught me off guard. Yeah, James Morris 7403. And then I'm also on Facebook, facebook.com/James Lindsay Morris, Lindsey. And then obviously Witching Season Films on Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, where a lot of the projects I work on are being circulated. So yeah, don't be a stranger. I'm not an asshole. So most of the time, so reach out and say hi.
That's James Morris for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I do a quick plug real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Also, be sure to check out your latest film and the Witching Season films. Yeah, dude, plug those.
Yeah.
Plug that shit.
Yeah. So They Live Inside Us. It's our first feature film. Came out in October. Distributed by Gravitas Ventures. It's on a lot of platforms: Amazon, Google,
Voodoo,
Redbox, Fandango. It's on some cable channels as well. It's also physically available. And then Witching Season is on Tubi, Amazon, and actually still for free on YouTube because that's where it started. So we've left that up. So yeah, go check it out if you like indie horror and 80s theme and Halloween. That's kind of all the inspiration for those stuff. So
hell yeah. Well, sir, thank you for coming on.
yeah, of course.
This has been an honor.
I appreciate that, man, for real. And like I said, I don't see myself in that light. And so it's fun to I'm glad that you enjoy our stuff enough to say that. So that means a lot to me. And I know it means a lot to everyone involved too, that you care enough to want to hear our thoughts. Right. Cause that's ultimately why we do it, is we want people to enjoy this stuff. So
yeah. Follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter and all that. James, I will hopefully work with you soon.
hopefully we'll cross our fingers.
All right, man. Well, take care.